When I first started my plumbing business, I was selling work like crazy, literally like thousands every week. But when I hired my first employees, they could hardly talk to the customer. They were selling half as much as I did, and we were losing our butts.
So what'd you do? Sign them up for sales training or what?
No, that stuff's useless. There's one thing that I taught my plumbers to do. It's increased our jobs sold, and it's one of the only reasons I was able to do over 5 million last year. Most business owners think about sales completely backwards. They think the best way to sell more work is to be the cheapest and undercut all their competition. I'm the most expensive plumber in my market, and we have more work than we can handle. What's up, Joel?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I caught you in mid yawn.
Yeah, you caught me. I was just mid mouth open. I wasn't even yawning. I just had my mouth open.
Awkward.
Well, I was probably going to say something hilarious per usual, but you know.
Some extremely dumb dad joke.
Dude,
your jokes aren't even, they're not like dad jokes are better than half of your jokes.
I thought you were going to say my jokes are like next level dad jokes, which I was about to agree with you.
They are.
And I'll agree with
like,
what I just said.
Not next level in a good way. They're next level
like
in a
breaking
bad way.
breaking the fourth wall, like intellectual stuff. Is that what you're saying?
Sure.
Yeah. Dude, thanks, man. That's a good compliment.
job.
Yeah. I'm going to tell my wife that when I get
Pat on
home.
the back for your intellectual jokes.
Dude, sometimes we all need a little pat on the back, a little self-care. You know what I'm saying?
I do. Speaking of self-care, check out this beard. Like, you didn't even notice when you came in.
Yeah. Oh, did you?
Does it look good?
I didn't notice.
Damn. I was looking scraggly, dude.
Yeah. Did you shave it yourself or did you
No.
have Chase touch it
I
up?
had Chase do it.
Isn't it nice?
Dude,
I like it.
do you like the experience?
Yeah, I did.
I hate the experience. I hate it.
What part about it do you hate?
I hate the warm towel, then the cold towel.
Why?
And him rubbing your face.
Oh, man. So I went to this one barber once when I was a kid in California.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know if the guy spoke English, but he cut my hair and then he put on these like vibrating gloves and then just like rubbed my shoulders.
Yeah.
And then I was like, as a kid, I was like, what is this? But now at the barbershop, it's funny because Chase will probably listen to this. And then I'm always like, dang, I wish he would just like scruff my...
He doesn't do that.
And then, yeah, then he'd rub my shoulders and it'd be like a whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like a man spa.
If you're in Pensacola, go see Chase.
Yeah, he does a rad
good.
job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to tip him well, though.
Yeah.
If you're not going to tip him, don't go.
Yeah, come on. It's embarrassing
It's super.
to those of us who tip him well.
If you go there, tell him I sent you.
Yep.
He'll
And
do
then
an
tip him
extra
well.
good job.
He will. Yeah. I brought my son there last time.
Yeah.
And it was Isaac's first time ever going to a barber.
Yeah.
And I told you this, but when he, Chase was like, you want to see your haircut? And like Isaac like looks in the mirror and Isaac's like, can I see the back? And so Chase holds the mirror up, right, to see the back. And then Isaac looks at Chase. He's like, how does that work? And Chase was like, what do you mean? He's like, how does it work? Like, you mean like the two mirrors? He's like, yeah. He's like, well, like one like looks at the other one. And Chase was like, dude, I don't know. I'm just a barber. Like, what's up? And my son loves questions. And I was like, Chase, it's good for you, man. You know, it's a hard question. You got to learn to answer these things.
Yeah.
That was Isaac's first barber experience.
It's funny. Did he get his beard done?
I asked Chase to do it, but he didn't do it for some reason.
Damn.
I know.
Damn it.
I know.
There goes his tip.
I know, right? That's it. Chase, you're off the good list.
Off the good list. Yeah. It felt good to get all nice and clean.
Yeah.
I'd film my reels because I want to grow my beard out.
Yep.
And so I haven't been cutting it. And then I'd film my reels in the morning and I'd be looking at it in the camera like, holy crap. Because you can see like, because there's light behind me and I can see it like pushing through the back of my beard.
Yeah.
Like, man, that looks bad.
Whenever I like right before I go see Chase,
Yeah.
I like look at myself. I'm like, dude, I'm one scruffy looking dude. Like my hair's all over the place. My beard's all unkempt.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything, but.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the podcast, like everybody can watch the podcast. You know when I get a haircut. Because like you can watch
It's
the
like,
progression of like, okay.
Damn, Joel's looking sharp today.
Yeah, exactly. And then like, why is Joel looking like a freaking like caveman who just rolled out of bed? Like, because that's literally what just happened.
Because he is.
And yeah, but then afterwards it's just like cut up real nice.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, man. What are we getting into today?
Today, we're going to talk about sales.
Oh,
My favorite topic. I actually just got done writing. So I've been working on I don't want to call it a book, but I mean, it's turning into a book.
yeah. I think it's cooler if you call it a book or a magnum opus. You'd call it that.
Sure. My magnum opus I've
There
been
you
working
go.
on. It's shorter than your typical book. I thought it was going to be like, originally I thought it'd be like 20 pages. And right now it's like 60 some, and I probably have like, I don't know, 10 more pages to go. So it'll be like 70 pages. There was a while there was like, holy crap, how am I going to fit this all in here?
Yeah.
But anyway, I've been working on my book. We're going to run you through like everything I know about running a plumbing business. Maybe not everything, but most of the stuff.
Yeah.
Like to give you a good idea of what it takes.
What's the purpose behind the book?
Just to get people information that they
sure.
need to get to start making money with their business, so they can start to understand, like, because it's easy to listen to this podcast, right?
Sure.
Like today, you're going to get a piece on sales. Maybe last time you got a piece on lifetime value. Maybe last time you got a piece on memberships. But you don't get like all the pieces and then how they all tie together.
Yeah, how they tie together is pretty big, because
Yeah.
if you do something, I mean, we talk about this, but if you do something out of order, that can really hurt you.
Yep.
But then if you don't understand that, like, yeah, there's like pricing and marketing and systems, but then there's all these little gray areas in between there,
Yep.
which come up sort of naturally or sometimes unnaturally.
Yep.
That like you don't really know it's a problem until you get in and you're like, oh wow, what the heck is this? Jared didn't tell me about this on the podcast. Like, this is a weird
All
thing.
I heard about was charge more.
Yeah, but I didn't know that this little thing would come up.
I didn't know all these other things were needed as
Yeah,
well.
like this is going to crop up from that, and then that's going
Yes.
to create this.
It's
Yeah.
funny because all the problems stem from not charging enough most of the time. But even the guys who come in who are charging enough, charging enough just leads to the next problem, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And along the way, all the way through, you just more problems, more problems, more problems. Every time you grow, more problems. It's just different problems.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
trying to get a good, like, these are, like, in the beginning, I'll walk them through, like, what I see the 3, like, phases. So there's, like, 3 levels of plumbing businesses that typically need help. And so you can identify which one you are
Oh, sure.
and
That's
which
helpful.
phase you're in, which is helpful, and then what your biggest constraint is at the moment. That way, and then basically all the information past that is just how to fix all these constraints.
Sure.
So it'll be good.
Yeah. Understanding limiting constraints is pretty important.
It's probably one of the most important things because, like today, we're going to talk about sales, but if that wasn't your constraint, why would you work on it?
Yeah. And sometimes we misidentify constraints. Like we think that sales is our constraint,
True.
and yet maybe we haven't considered our price, or maybe
True.
we haven't considered that we're not even marketing to the right person.
True. Typically, what I see is that guys are going, they see tons of constraints, right?
Oh, sure.
Because
Yeah,
they can
sure.
see like, I want to get from here to there, and they have this very clear picture, especially once they get in our course of like, oh, I can get there. Here's the
Right.
path, right? It's well laid out. Now I know what it takes to get there. I just have to go do the stuff, and they're like, that's a lot of like, which one? What do I do? Because it's a lot of stuff to work on. So identifying like, what's your biggest constraint, and then what's the action that I needed to take to move forward on that constraint? Like for example, if cash flow was your biggest constraint,
Sure.
then there could be multiple things that you could do that would increase cash flow.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
But you would want to figure out which one's going to have the largest effect on my cash flow,
Right.
and do that one first.
Right. Yeah. So you find, so there is a bunch of constraints, and you, let's say you properly identify them all,
Yep.
but now you have to rank them in the, which one am I going to, that's funny. Me and Costin talked about this today.
Yeah.
We talked about just identifying, like, if you have a to-do list and you're having struggling, not good coffee, Jared.
No, it's good. I forgot what the cup said.
Dude. Okay.
And I never listened to you, so.
Yeah. I mean, okay. They say not to, okay. I'm going to tell a fun Jared story.
Okay.
So when Jared and I go biking, Jared doesn't fall off his bike ever. I fall off my bike all the time. Except, well, let me rephrase that. Jared falls off when he forgets to think about bike riding and he starts thinking about something else. And then I'll just hear those, oh, tree. And then it's because he's back there focusing on whatever thing probably something business related.
I'm usually thinking about work.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, work. And then I hear crash, 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 crash.
Yep.
It's like, what happened? He's like, well, I wasn't paying attention. Hit
Yep.
the tree. So anyway, I was talking about, like, if you have a list of tasks and you don't feel like you're making it through them, it's important to like rank the tasks as far as like importance so that you can like have a direction.
Yeah.
And then, that's sort of when like the Pareto principle comes in.
Pareto, who's that?
That's the 80-20 guy.
Oh.
So 80% of the time, you're usually, was it 80% of the time you're usually working up on the, no, 20% of the things that you do move you closer to your goals 80% of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
20% of your actions are responsible for 80% of your output.
Yes. But a lot of the times we end up focusing on the 80% of the stuff that doesn't move the needle.
Well, it moves 20% of the needle.
But not the other way.
Yeah.
So then by finding our limiting constraints, but then like understanding how each one of those moves the needle to what degree, gives us a hierarchy of what to actually spend time on.
Correct.
Like, especially when you're a business owner and you have no time.
Yeah, especially in like the beginning stages of your business, because you can't delegate.
Yeah,
there's no delegation that can happen.
It's all you.
And even when you you get a CSR, you can start to delegate some stuff. You get more techs, you can start to delegate some stuff. But it's a weird thing because you're not used to delegating, right? You're used to just doing everything yourself because that's how you do. And so when I got in that spot, I would always I was just telling the guys in our course today or yesterday, because they were asking like, how do I know what to work on? Like I have all these tasks to do. How do I determine?
You gave me all this stuff to do.
Yeah, you gave me all this stuff to do. Like, how do I determine what to work on? And so what I would do is I would have a spreadsheet and I would just list out all of my tasks. And then I have 3 columns that were full of check boxes. Maybe I had 4. See, the first one was, can I automate this? And then the second one was, can I delegate this? And the third one was, do I need to do this at all? That should probably be the first one. Yeah. And then it was, this is my responsibility, something I have to do, right? So then you would go down the list one by one and you would check the appropriate box. Okay, do I actually need to do this right now? No. Okay, cool. Or maybe the box should be called, I don't need to do this right now. You would check it, right? Yeah. Then it'll be like, can I automate this? Yes. And then it's, okay, can I delegate the automation or do I need to do it?
Right.
Or can I just delegate this? Or is this just something I got to get done? And then what you'll find is like half the stuff you have on your list, you don't even need to be worrying about right now. And then a lot of stuff you can like set up a simple automation to save yourself work. It could be like as simple as like, I'm going to add this to my Google Calendar as a recurring thing.
Yeah, sure.
So that it gets done all the time. Or I'm going to create a system for doing this thing.
Yeah,
so that it goes twice as fast. Or something like that.
Or,
right?
or like, because I was even thinking about that when we were talking about like part of our like wealthy plumber sales process is figuring out a system so that you just do the same thing every time. Like
same thing every time.
That can save you a ton of time because then you're not trying to reinvent the wheel every decision-making step. You're not like, oh, should I do this action? Yes or no? Okay, then what's the next one? But if you just say, oh, I wrote a process and I just go doot, 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 and then I go to the next one, doot, 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 that can save you time.
Yeah, even just creating like a checklist for you to follow. If you're doing a task that requires a bunch of different steps, it's like come up with a workflow that makes it super fast and then have that workflow like in a checkoff sheet where you go, okay, do this, check, do this, check, do this, check, do this, check. It's done. Now I'm good. And you know it's done properly because you checked it all off.
In your experience, like what amount of guys when you talk to them are familiar with like using a Google Calendar or using various softwares to structure their time?
Not very many, which is normal. Like
yeah, sure.
In normal life, you don't need to.
No, like I would say
you should in normal life. Like I think everybody should live and die by their Google Calendar in real life. They should put like sleep hours, workout hours, and they should like live and die by that calendar. Because it just makes you realize how little time you have.
Sure.
Right? Which does wonders on like you thinking about, okay, I have such a limited amount of time. What's actually important?
Yeah, sure.
So you can think about it like from your deathbed. You can think about it from 20 years from now, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 3 years from now. What's the most important I need to make sure those things go on my calendar,
Yeah, sure.
because I'm not like, if I go through life meaningless and I waste all of my time, I have very little time left.
Right.
If I waste it all, that's just going to be a waste of a life. Like I won't get any of the things done that I want to get done.
Yeah, you're always going to think that you'll make time for it in the moment.
Yeah, but you won't.
No, especially
happen.
Especially if it's something that you're like, you know that you aren't really good at that yet, and so you have to intentionally put time in there.
Yeah.
And that could be even like for me, what I'm thinking is like, oh, if I want to spend time with my kids,
Yeah.
which I'm not like naturally good at, like, kids, let's spend time together.
Yeah.
I'm just there all the time anyway. I have to put that on my calendar
on
to
your
say,
calendar.
okay, we're going to spend time with the kids so I can build that habit. But if I don't put it on my calendar, I'm never going to make time for it because I don't have anything telling me I should do that.
Yeah, and some people think that's silly, but
My wife is one of them.
same with my wife.
She thinks it's the stupidest thing ever.
It's like, to me, it's like if you wanted to read a book, but then you never set aside time to read the book, you're never going to read the book.
So my wife would say, I would read the book because I'd want to do it.
Yeah, but maybe women just have way more time.
Maybe they're just better at like doing things or something. Or maybe they have less like.
So
all
my
these
wife keeps a
things,
calendar, but she writes everything on like a actual calendar.
like a piece of paper.
Well, like a calendar.
Yeah.
She gets like the yearly calendar every year, and she pre-plans and writes everything on a calendar. And it drives me nuts because she'll write something that I'm required for, but it won't be on my Google calendar.
Because you can't just share a calendar
because
and
you
put an
can't
event
share
on
it.
there.
Yeah. Anyway, live and die by your calendar.
Yeah, and the point is like, it's as a business owner, like there's such advantages to leaning into technology like a Google Calendar and like task lists, just so that you can actually like consistently move that ball forward. Because it's like at some times it's like a very like you're nudging this ball forward. It's not big leaps and bounds. It's like we're just gonna push it forward, and it's usually a series of really lame, boring inputs every day. Will get you a result further down the road. And if you don't put that in the schedule and like really go, oh, I need to call this many people every day, then you're probably going to do something else that you'd rather do than that stupid thing that you don't want to do.
Consistency is key.
Yes.
And if you don't schedule it and you don't live and die by your schedule, something will always come up. If you don't dictate your schedule, something else is going to dictate your schedule.
Yes.
And the things that you should have gotten done won't get done, and you won't have those tiny incremental bumps forward every single day.
Yeah.
What's that book where he talks about that? 1% better every day.
Is that, I don't know, is that Atomic Habits or something?
Yes, Atomic Habits.
I've never read that book, but I know that part.
Yeah, it's like 1% better every day. I don't remember the math.
It does this though. Like
It does this.
For everybody listening, that whoop is like a curve. We're imagining a graph.
Goes
curve.
from flat to slightly better, and then one day it's like bam. And that happens because like when you're talking about, like I've experienced it in business, I've experienced it in working out. So like in business, when you start getting 1% better every day, you start to build a bigger and bigger business, right?
Sure.
A better and better business. You start getting more and more people working for you. You start getting different talents that you can lean on, other people that can do other stuff. So the climb becomes dramatically faster.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Sure.
At a point. Because now you have all these other people doing stuff. It's like same thing with working out. Like when I would run a ton, when I first started, my mileage was super low. I'd run like 3 miles on a weekend. But after doing that consistently for a long enough amount of time, all of a sudden I started to be able to run a lot longer, and running became a lot easier to where I could spend, I could run 80 to 100 miles a week with less effort than what I was running 3 miles a week beforehand, right?
Yeah.
So you just get better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge takeaway is you get better at things the more you do the things.
Yep.
Unless maybe if you do them really, really crappy. Like, unless maybe you just do them terribly every time.
Well, if you're not getting better and you keep doing the same thing,
sure.
that's the definition of stupidity.
Yeah, like if you're, sure.
Which I still do to this day. So don't feel too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
I still do things where I'm like, damn it, I've been doing the same stupid thing over and over again, getting the same result that I don't like. Yeah.
Yeah, and
stupid.
When we talk about this, it's easy for you and I to sit here and be like, yes, live and die by Google Calendar. But like, it's hard. Like it's a skill. But again, it's a skill like everything else, like discipline. Cultivating that discipline is just learning that skill of discipline in that particular area.
Yep.
And doing things you don't want to do, especially when you don't want to do them, is an important part of being a business owner.
Unfortunately, that is true.
Yes.
It's like in the beginning with your plumbing business, you got to answer the phone, you got to run all the calls, you got to do all the stuff, have all the meetings with the marketing companies, all that junk. And some of that stuff sucks. Like answering your phone, even running the calls. I don't want to do that either. But you got to do it all, right? And you got to get good at it all because you got to be able to tell your team how to do it.
Yep.
So,
and then at some point, it's nice when you find people who are better at certain things than you, and then you're like, oh, you should go do that.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for being awesome. Because then that's really when your business can start to really take off, is when you're like, oh, I found people who are better at this than me. This is wonderful. They can do that skill. Now I don't have to do that.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness that person can just go and crush that idea.
Yes.
And I can just
and your life will be, you'll never look back.
Yeah.
That's
like, wow.
when you first have that realization, that's what I had when I hired your wife. And it was like, wow, it was like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
It was a whole new world to me because I'd never hired an employee. And to have somebody go do something that you would normally have to do, and all you had to pay them was a small fee, but it was such a huge relief.
Especially what you paid my wife to begin with.
Not even minimum wage. Yeah. I didn't pay her minimum wage. Well,
she was like 13. She was like 13 cents short.
I was so scared to hire somebody, and because I didn't want to not be able to pay them.
Yeah.
Which is typical.
Yeah. I talked to a guy just yesterday about that.
Yeah.
And he was really worried about it. And we were talking about his hourly rate calculator. And I was like, okay, the greatest part about that tool is you can see how many hours. First off, you can see how much you need to raise your rate to accommodate that wage.
Yep.
And then you can see how many additional hours you need to sell to accommodate it.
Yeah.
Because this guy was under the assumption that if I hire a CSR, I'm going to have to work like all these, I'm going to have to get like 10 more jobs. And I'm like, you're probably not going to have to get that many more jobs.
Probably have to get like 2.
Yeah, you're going to have to sell like 2 more hours.
Which she'll probably book because she's going to be better at booking jobs than you.
Yeah.
If you hire the right person.
Yes.
And you hire the right training.
Yes. Yeah. And you're priced properly and all those things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember where I was going with that.
Me neither.
Okay.
All right. So today we're going to talk about sales. So specifically, how to make sales or how to think about sales. And we'll talk about my sales process as well.
Question.
Yep.
Did you learn sales? Like, did you because I've known you for a while.
Yep.
And I don't ever remember you being like, oh, I'm going to work on my sales technique. Like, I don't
Nope.
in any of our conversations previous to this last year, I don't remember you once mentioning sales in the context of your job as a plumber for anybody else or as your own business owner.
So as a plumber for anybody else, no, because I only worked service work for a small amount of time, and we weren't responsible for doing any sales because we just went in and we said, what's your problem? Here's the fix. We'd fix it, and then the office would send them a bill.
Yeah, so you didn't have to.
I didn't even know, like...
Oh, you didn't even know, like, what the charge was or whatever?
No.
You just...
Sometimes people would ask for, like, a rough idea, and so I asked my boss how to come up with a rough idea, and he was like, well, we mark up materials 70%, and... our hourly rate is $165. And I said, okay, 70% markup, that's hard in my head.
Yeah, you're like 70% of the what?
Yeah. So we would sometimes give them a ballpark.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, it's probably going to be like between 500 and 800. And then we were supposed to tell that ballpark to the office what we gave them, and then they would make sure it fell within that ballpark.
Wow. Interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
That makes me wonder because I just had that plumber come to my house. I think it's going to be warranty work, but it's hard to know, man. And like there was no talk about cost. There was
Nope.
no approval of work or anything.
Nope.
I just saw the guy digging in the poopy water. It's actually funny. All my kids were looking out the window like, he's just grabbing all that poop with his hands.
Yep.
And like, I don't know what's going to happen now. I might
Nope.
get a bill for $1,000. I might get no bill. Like
You might get a bill for 10 grand.
I have no idea.
You have no clue.
I just know that he did something. I appreciate that something was done.
Yeah.
But now I don't know what to expect.
And he was probably uncomfortable talking to you about price if there was a price involved.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. This guy, the only, we could say, sales technique that he exhibited was when he rang my doorbell, he didn't stand on my porch. He stepped back 10 feet.
That's nice.
Which, you
Is it
know.
because he was smoking?
Probably.
So for context, you bought this house.
Yeah.
It's under warranty still.
Called the warranty company because
Yeah.
my pump grinder stopped working.
Yeah.
And then,
Because somebody's going to give us crap about, wait, you didn't hire the most expensive plumbing company in town?
dude, I tried.
Yeah.
I mean, I was ready because I was like, so you got to like fill out the warranty claim and then they call a plumber. And like, I'm trying to like use my house.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to get the problem fixed.
Yeah.
And so I started looking around in our area trying to find people, which is hard to do.
Yep.
I laugh whenever we talked about that GMB optimization episode.
Yeah.
And I just look through and I'm like, pictures of plumbing, pictures of nothing, pictures of plumbing. And it just cracks me up. I just laugh.
Yep.
So anyways, I called the company that was on the warranty sticker. The CSR answered. And then she said, okay, she got all my information. Then she said, okay, the technician's going to reach out to you. And then she hung up. And immediately I was like, oh my gosh, like, is he going to call me soon?
Didn't give you a time frame or anything?
No, she just said, someone's going to call you. And then she hung up. And for me, that was lame because I have no confidence.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, hopefully he calls me. But meanwhile, like, I can't really run any water in my house or else I get poop in my yard.
Yeah.
So I just waited around and then we called a couple other superintendents or whatever. And then finally the guy calls me, which I was grateful. And he's like, oh yeah, super nice guy on the phone, actually, surprisingly so. He's like, yeah, I'll be over there in a little bit. I'm heading that way. No specific time frame. Showed up at my door. I opened the door and he's 10 feet away smoking a cigarette with his cool pit vipers on. No uniform. Just like, I'm here to get in your backyard, like just white truck, pickup truck.
Yeah.
And I just smiled and I said, sure, man.
Was it the Sawicki guys?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it was the Sawicki guys. Actually, I was surprised they had a CSR because I know they do mostly new construction.
Yeah.
And it was just, I just laughed the whole time. I was like, I know, like this experience that I'm experiencing is like the opposite of what we talk about all the time.
Yep.
But the guy was super nice. Like in my mind, I was like, this guy could probably do really well if he worked at a company where they were like, you can talk to the customer.
Yeah.
Like when he talked to me on the phone, very good tonality, very disarming nature. But I was telling some guys after the work today, and I was like, listen, if I wasn't home and this guy was the guy showing me up at my house, I wouldn't be as comfortable. Cause I'm like, cigarette smoking pit viper dude, like trying to like lurk around my house. Like, I don't know. Like
wife and kids are home.
Yeah. Wife and kids are home. Like it didn't really communicate. I'm going to be super well taken care of.
Yeah.
The main point is there's little sales like stuff. He stood off my porch.
Yep.
But I think he fixed the problem and we'll see what the bill is.
Hopefully it's free because it's warranty.
Should be free.
Should be.
Yep. I mean, that's the reason why I didn't call whomever else.
Gotcha. I always hate warranties when they're a pain in the butt to use.
Dude, me too.
Like getting a warranty on something at Lowe's.
Oh, good
like an
luck.
appliance.
Good luck.
I always ask them, how hard is this to use? Oh, you just fill out this form here and call this person here and then email this person here and submit this claim here. And I'm like, I don't need that.
I'm good.
I'll just buy a new one when it breaks.
Yeah. And like sometimes they have the QR codes where it's like, scan this for your warranty, but it just brings me to their website.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, and it's like, get your product number. And I'm like, I've already put the thing in. Like, where is the product number? Like, I gotta go find the barcode. Like, and at that point, you lost me.
Yep.
So,
they know that though.
Yeah, they do know that.
Yes, they do. Okay, sales. So most people, like when they're thinking of sales, right? They think, what do you think most plumbers think?
Most plumbers or plumbing business owners?
Let's say plumbing business owners.
Let's see. I don't honestly know what they think because a lot of the times, like for you, you would go and just sell the work, probably because you had a lot of reason to sell the work.
Yep.
Because you needed the cash.
Yep.
So it wasn't like, for you, my experience was it wasn't really like, oh, I need to like brush up on my skills to do this. It was like, I just got to do this.
Yep.
Whatever that looks like, I have to make it happen.
Yep.
I don't know exactly how many guys think of like, at least when it's just them, like I need to focus on like a certain procedure of sales.
Yep.
But once I start hiring guys, then I definitely hear guys being like, so I'm investing in sales training.
Yeah.
To, I actually talked to a guy the other day. He gets Grant Cardone's sales training modules, and then he has his whole team watch those.
For his plumbers?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, so it's like $1,100 a month or something. No, yeah. And you get 10 Grant Cardone lessons or something. And he was actually like, it really helped. I was like, oh, interesting. But that's typically what I think is like plumbing business owners looking at the limiting constraint of if I could just get my guys to sell more, I would make a ton more cash.
Yep.
And then there's also this idea that they can sell like a lot. Like they should be selling what you sold.
You're right.
Like 80%, 90%,
100%.
100% close rate.
I don't know. I don't think I had 100%, but I was close.
Yeah.
Real close.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't let it go. I would just work with them to get something figured out.
Yeah. Because you knew all the intimate details and you knew what was possible.
That we could agree on. Yeah. So let's go over, because I didn't have we have a sales process now that we train our guys on that works well, but it's what I just wrote in my thing. So it's fresh in my head. And then by thing, I mean, what did we call it?
The roadmap to...
No. What did you call it at the beginning of the podcast?
Dude, I don't know. That was
my
a long
memorandum.
Time ago. Yeah, your opus. What did I say? Your opus memorandum or something?
Whatever that is.
Yeah.
I just wrote it in my opus memorandum, so it's fresh in my head. And then, but before we go into that, let's go into just what I did in the field.
Yeah.
Because when I first started, it was like this awkward thing to be in front of the customer and give them a price. And I quickly had to adapt and learn how to sell services to a customer. And so I developed my own ways of doing it.
Sure.
And they were super successful. And then I tried teaching that to my guys, but it wasn't like a system that they can follow. And I wasn't really able to nail down what it was that I was doing that was working so well until I learned somebody else's system. And I'll be totally honest, I just copied it and used it in my business, and we've used it ever since, and it works well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was weird to you about being in somebody's house, like selling work and all that kind of stuff?
So in the very beginning, when I first started doing service work, I thought about it completely backwards. I thought about sales as, well, I wasn't thinking about sales, but I was thinking about the service as, how can I get this person their fix for as cheap as possible, right? That was my whole idea going into the service. So I would go in like, okay, I got to get this plumbing fixed for as cheap as possible for this customer, because that's what every customer wants, right? It wasn't until I guess my first shift of mindset there was like, oh, okay, people don't just want the cheapest fix. They actually just want a good quality fix, and they don't want me to come back again. So that really that really shifted the way I went about my work. It was like they want me to come into their house. They want me to be the professional. They want me to be confident in the fact that I'm the professional. And usually they have a problem or a symptom. And what I would do is I would go in and I would listen to the customer, and I would be friendly.
Sure, of course.
And then I would go hear out their problems, and then I would go diagnose what's going on. And I started, instead of just going, here's the cheapest fix, I would tell the customer, like, yeah, so this is the problem. Like, obviously you're experiencing it.
Right.
And here's what's causing the problem, right? Here's the root cause of the problem. Short-term fix, we could just do this. A better thing to do would be doing this. And
sure.
when I started doing that, it forced me to ask questions that I wasn't asking beforehand. So I'd start asking like, how long have you lived here? how long are you going to continue to live here?
Why did you ask those questions?
Because at the time when I was doing this, there was a ton of houses selling, and I would get a lot of calls for people who are selling their house. And so they need like some sort of maintenance work done.
Sure.
And it determines like the options you're going to give them.
Yeah,
or the
sure.
options that you're going to recommend for them, right?
Yeah.
Because if they're going to move out of their house in 4 months, or they're going to put their house up for sale tomorrow,
Right.
well, then a long-term 10-year fix, they're likely not going to want to spend the money on it.
Yeah.
Right. And if they do, they're going to let you know.
Yeah.
So, and if you offer them solutions and you're like, you're only going to be here for another few months. If I was you, I would just do this one.
Sure.
Because it's going to get you by for the next 4 months, and then you sell your house and you're good to go.
Right.
And then if the problem continues and somebody wants to be here longer, well, then they can invest in a longer term fix.
Right.
But for you, it doesn't really make sense to invest, $10,000 in your house. You're just going to sell.
Yeah. You're not going to, and you could tell them that you're not going to get the money for it when you sell. And it's not going to pencil for you.
Yeah. Unless you really want to do it.
Yeah. Of course.
In which case, which would blow your mind how many customers are like, no, I want to do this one. Right. And so I started asking those questions. And so I would always, I would go to the house, I would assess the situation. I would always come up with an idea of what's going on and what their possible solutions are. So I kind of started offering options before I even knew it was a thing. And just based on like short-term, long-term fixes for the customer. And usually I'd come up with 2 to 3 options of stuff they could do. And started asking those questions. And then I started to realize, like, when you present those options to a customer, you're the professional. So when you're there and you're like, here's your options, they're looking at you like, okay.
Yeah.
So I started making recommendations, and they're like,
yeah, sure.
And then they're like, okay. And if you let them sit there, they're like, I need to think about it. Right. Or they're like, I don't know, I need to ask my husband.
Yeah.
But if you just ask them for the sale, and I read this in a book actually called, I think it was the Sales Bible. It's the only sales book I ever read. They said the number one biggest sales mistake is nobody asked for the sale.
Sure.
So I started going there and presenting the options, and I'd be like, which one do you want to go with?
Sure.
And you have to ask it like
they're gonna do something.
They're buying. They're gonna pick one of these. Like, they got a problem, they want it fixed. They called me here. They want one of these options. Which one do you want to go with? So I'd say, I'd recommend this one because of this, and this. Which one do you want to go with? Which one do you want me to fix today? How do you want me to get this repaired for you today?
Would you say it just like that? Like in that, like I'm very confident that you're going to do the thing.
Yep.
And I'm confident that the options I presented you are really going to solve all your problems.
Yep. Have to be.
Yeah.
You have to be.
Yeah. No one's going to buy anything from we talked about this recently, but like if you're trying to purchase, like if you go to buy a car, right? And like the guy's like, and you're like, hey, so like, just be honest with you. Is this a good car? Like, does this drive well? And they're like, well, it's okay.
Yeah, it drives okay.
Like,
I'm not buying
you're gonna
that
be like,
car.
I'm good, man. Like already, like even if you're at a dealership, like you're already gonna be like, let's see a different car then.
Yeah.
You seem not to be bought into this car.
But if that guy was like, well, I mean, it's no Cadillac, but for the price it's at, it drives very well.
Yes.
Then you'd be like, oh.
You're like, interesting. Thank you. I understand that.
Maybe
I'm getting what I pay for with this vehicle.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So confidence is really important.
Huge.
And then like even the way that you're phrasing that, where you're like certain that they're going to do something.
Yeah.
Like when you are certain, when you walk into it and you're like, so which one is it going to be? Like just the whole framework is like, you're projecting surprise if they choose to not do anything.
Right.
Because then if they did, you'd be like, oh, I thought you wanted to I thought you wanted your problem fixed.
Yeah.
Never mind. I misunderstood the whole situation. Like, not necessarily that you would say that, but that's like what sort of the vibe of that conversation would be.
Yep. And even then, the whole conversation is they want their problem fixed. We just have to come up with a solution that fits what they want, that's within their budget. Right. And so if at that point they're like, oh man, those are all way too expensive, then it's not a conversation of they don't want the work done or they're going to call somebody else. It's, well, what is within your budget? Maybe we can come up with a solution that works for your budget. So let's talk about that.
Sure.
What is your budget? Because we could probably come up with this Band-Aid fix or
Sure, yeah,
some
to get you
lower
into
end fix
to the next thing.
to get you the help that you need, right?
Yeah, you're a creative expert technician. You can figure it out.
Yeah. So the whole thing comes from less of a sales perspective. Like, I'm going to sell you on this thing. I'm
Yeah,
going to push
sure.
you towards this
Sure.
higher priced object. It's really just trying to serve the customer best, right? By giving them all the data, all the decisions, giving them your professional opinion, and letting them make the decision. And assuming they want their problem fixed.
Right.
And then
yeah.
helping them, get it within their budget if you need to. That's service. It's not sales, right? So that's pretty much how I went about it. And I would sell, I'm going to say 90%. I have no idea really, but I sold very, very well. But I was very motivated.
Yes, you're very focused on the thing that
Yes.
I got to make these jobs go.
Yes.
And again, since you're the business owner, you know exactly the state of your business in that moment financially, so that like, well, I've had a really great week. I'm just going to drop this one just to get this sale through. Like, you have complete freedom and understanding on how to do that.
Yep. And I kind of lucked out in the sense that I just kind of fell into the technique that I was using, and then it worked so well.
Yeah.
Like, I'll say I was pretty lucky in that.
Yeah, because you could have not discovered what I would say like a question-based framework.
Right.
Like, asking those questions is so key, because
key.
You have to understand what the real problem is.
Yep.
But every time you ask questions and the the person is responding, you're building rapport,
Yes.
and then you're demonstrating like that you know what you're talking about. And that's going to start to build equity, that when you do want to finally ask and cash that equity for the sale, there's going to be a lot built there, instead of just like, again, so if this guy at my house fixing my grinder pump would have just showed up after, like, before doing anything, been like, hey man, I got to replace the pump, it's going to be this much money. I'd be like, okay, so there's no options, there's no experience.
So what is Joe Cesara? He always says, if you're not providing options, you're providing ultimatums.
Yeah, totally.
And a lot of guys have a hard time offering options because they can't think of it in their head. But if you think of it as like repair, replace, or upgrade, or repair, replace, or repair short-term solution or a long-term solution, that's probably a better way to think of it.
That sounds like a good thing. Like, if that's like, it sounds like something that I would want to write on like a sticky pad and like put in my van, and then just like remember, like, that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking in those frameworks
Yeah.
as I'm trying to, and even when you're going into your van to write your estimate,
Yeah.
you can look at that and be like, okay, got it.
And it has to come from a place of serving the customer,
Yes.
because your plumbers aren't sales guys. And so when you try to get them to do really salesy things, it's salesy, and it's really weird for them.
Yep.
And then homeowners don't like being pushed and sold, and they just want good service.
Yeah.
Right?
They're not expecting it. Like, they're not expecting a plumber to walk in and then unleash a
salesman.
high sales environment upon them.
Right. Yep.
Like, they're like, well, I didn't know that this was part of the deal.
Yep.
Like, I just want I want to be able to flush my toilets again.
Yeah.
Like, why are you telling me all this other crazy stuff?
Unless the plumber goes in and he's like, oh, hey, the problem here is this, the root cause. Yeah, we can snake your drain today to get this fixed, but if you want this to not happen again, like I asked you, how many times has this happened? Is this a new thing? You told me it happened a bunch of times. It's just going to keep happening again. We can do this other fix over here, and that'll keep it from happening ever again.
Yeah.
That would be a good example.
Yep.
So let's go into our sales system, because it's a good time. When I started hiring guys, they didn't have the same ability, right? And maybe some of them did. Some of them would go about it in a different way. And at some point we had to like standardize it and make sure everybody had the ability.
Sure.
And so I was reading, what is that book? The E-Myth. The Ken Goodrich version.
E-Myth for contractors.
Yes. No, it's the E-Myth for HVAC Contractors
sure.
by Ken Goodrich.
Yeah, sure.
And then there he talks about the sales system that they use at Gettle, and it's called the RISE sales system. And I've seen other people's sales systems like Tommy Mello's and those kinds of stuff, and they're all very similar. And so I adopted the RISE sales system, and I kind of like adopted it in my business. So it's actually in our SOPs. If you ever got a copy of our SOPs, it's in there. And basically, it's an acronym. It's relationship, inspect, solutions, execute, and in that order. So when you first go to the house, the first thing you want to do is build a relationship, right?
Sure.
In Tommy Mello's sales system, he calls it rapport. So, and it's kind of the same thing. You want to build rapport, right? So, and it boils down to like, when you go knock on the door, don't be walking in the house, right?
Yeah.
So like go in, like knock on the door, and when the customer answers, introduce yourself, shake their hand, say hello, smile, let them know what company you're with. And they're like, oh, cool, this guy's nice. Like he's professional.
Yeah.
Okay. You're building rapport, building a relationship. And then ask them, like, what has you bringing me here today? Like, what am I here to look at for you today? Let them tell you their story. I woke up this morning, I didn't have a hot water. Or I woke up this morning, my downstairs toilet is spewing poo all over the floor, or whatever, right? And then empathize with them. Build that relationship, right? And then when you're in their house, the best thing you can do is build rapport by like, man, this is a beautiful house. How long have you lived here? And you get your questions in, but you're like complimenting them as well.
Yeah, I mean, your questions don't sound like that you're just reading from a script.
Right.
How long you've lived here? Has toilets been working improperly long?
I mean, you can do that too, but you could like by complimenting them on their house. If it's a really nice house, compliment them. If it's not, don't compliment them.
Yeah. Don't be fake about it.
No, but like if they have a dog, oh man, what kind of dog is that? Oh, I've got this kind of dog, Or if you see their motorcycle in the garage, dude, cool motorcycle. Like, how often do you ride that?
Mind if I take it for a spin really quick?
What kind of motorcycle is that? I've been wanting to get a motorcycle. Just talk to them, build rapport. It just lets them know, like, okay, this is a human being that I'm dealing with, not some sleazy salesman. And you all of a sudden, they start to know, like, and trust you.
Sure.
And everybody knows people buy from those they know, like, and trust.
Yeah, but Jared, I don't have time for all that. I got to get to like 7 jobs today to be profitable.
That's a whole different problem. Please don't do that. If you can't slow down and do this, then you're doing something else wrong.
Okay.
So you're building rapport, okay? The next step is, what is it, Rise? Inspect, right? So next step you want to go, once you've built rapport with the customer, they've gotten to know you a little bit, you've asked them some questions, you've complimented them on their house, now you're looking at their thing, now you're going to inspect, okay? So part of inspect is we want to inspect their plumbing problem, and we want to identify the problem, the root cause, and possible solutions. All possible solutions.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
And then we're going to come up with what those solutions are, okay? So we're going to identify all of these things, and then we're going to educate the customer on what the problem is, what the root cause is, and then we're going to move on to the next step of solutions, okay? So now that you've properly identified, you're going to come up with typically a good, better, best format for them of the solutions that are available. And you're going to go present those to the customer. So when you present to the customer, it's always good to be like, hey, so the problem you're having was this.
Sure, yeah.
You knew that because you woke up with it.
Yep.
Here's what's causing it. The root cause is this.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Here's the symptom of this problem. Here's the root cause of that problem. Here's your solutions for those problems. We can get you in and out of the door today with this super simple fix, but you're still going to have this problem over here. So if you go with this option, it kind of solves the root problem. If you really want to take this to the next level, we can go with this, and that'll fix all of these problems. Because when I was looking at this, I found this other thing as well, right? And so you're going to offer those to the customer. And then we always make a recommendation.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
what I always tell my guys, whether they do it or not, I have no idea. Hopefully they do. They sell pretty well. I always tell them, tell the customer, if I was you, homeowner to homeowner, put your hand over your company logo, company shirt aside, this is the one that I would do, and here's why.
Yeah.
And you base your recommendation off of the questions that you asked them earlier.
Sure.
How long are you going to be here?
Yeah.
How long have you lived here? Have you had this problem before? How many times have you had this problem before?
Right.
When was the last time you had this problem? Right. So you get a good idea of like how this problem is affecting them and how maybe they want you to move forward with it in the future. And then you can make an honest recommendation
Sure.
of this. If I was you, company shirt aside, homeowner to homeowner, this in my own house as a plumber, this is what I would do. Here's why. Because if you do this option, then you're just going to have this problem again.
Right.
And you plan on living here for a little while longer. So if I was you, I wouldn't want that problem again. So I'd probably upgrade to this fix. This fix, however, this may cause you problems like 20 years from now. So you don't necessarily need to go with this option right now, unless you really want to. Which option would you like to go forward with today?
The best one.
Yeah, see? Happens every time. But it doesn't happen every time, but it happens a lot more often than you would think.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. A lot of guys won't have like a really good, crazy expensive option. And by not, if you don't offer it, you won't sell it. If you offer it, you will sell it.
Yeah, like, okay, yeah, if you offer that crazy, silly, like you would never do that option because in your mind, you're like, that would be silly.
Yeah.
But you put it on there anyway because that is the best possible solution.
Yeah.
A brand new thing is the best possible
Yeah.
solution. Yeah, you want a brand new boiler system? Sure. Like, yeah, your problem might justify that.
Yep.
And maybe that customer is like, wait, tell me about these new boilers.
Yeah.
I've heard about them. Natural gas, can you do that? And then suddenly you're like, well, actually, yes.
Yes.
And now you have a much bigger job
yes.
that you would have missed had you not actually just presented it.
Yes. If you'd have just gone in there and fixed the symptom,
Sure.
you would have been out a ton of money.
Yeah.
It's like, and it really, if you think about it, it sounds kind of salesy, right? But if they wanted that, but you didn't offer it to them,
Sure.
then you're really doing them a disservice.
Right.
It's like, I tell my guys this all the time. It's like going to the doctor's office for whatever. Maybe you have some pain or something, and they have to do some surgery on something. And so they cut you open, and the doctor sees cancer in there, if you could see cancer.
Yep.
And he's like, I'm not here to fix cancer. I'm only here to just repair this bone right here.
Upset tummy. That's why I'm in here.
So, yeah, so he fixes whatever, sews you back up, and sends you off to your way.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, you're like, man, I'm not feeling very good. And you go back to the doctor, and he's like, oh, yeah, when I had you open last week,
Yeah.
I saw cancer there. You probably got cancer,
Yeah.
right? You'd be pissed.
I didn't tell you because I just didn't think you'd want to hear the news.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I opened up your boiler and like, well, it's gonna start on fire and like explode your house. But I'm just here for a tune and clean, you know. So, well, you know, just
Exactly.
don't want to charge you too much. Things are expensive. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're really doing them a disservice. So another prime example of that, I went to a lady's house. She had a bad flapper, I think. And I gave her options. It was, hey, I can replace your flapper. I can replace all the guts in your toilet, and I can replace your toilet. And at that point in time, I think we had pre-built options going on. And so those were just the pre-built options.
Sure.
And the replacing the guts didn't make sense because they looked good. And getting a new toilet didn't make sense because she had a pretty nice toilet. And so I said, hey, honestly, if I was you, I would just get this flapper replaced because the guts are good and the toilet's good. And she goes, you know, I've been wanting a new toilet. What do you got for new toilets? And I said, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, let me pull up my toilet options.
Let's see.
Yeah, and she ended up having me replace all 3 toilets in her house, all with nice new toilets. Paid me thousands of dollars to do it, all because I offered that to her.
Yeah, even though it wasn't necessarily your go-to.
Correct. Okay, so solutions. You offer them solutions. You make a recommendation, and then you execute. So part of executing is which one do you want to move forward with? You need to handle their objections. And that sounds super salesy, but their only objection is either going to be they didn't like the options that were presented,
Right.
or there wasn't one that was in their price range.
Sure.
So if you really want to serve the customer, then let's find them an option that they do like, and or let's find one that is within their price range, right? Let's figure out something that we can do to help them out today that's within their price range. So it still comes from this service mindset, okay? So you work with them to find an option and a price point that works within their budget, and then you do the work, just like you said you were going to do. Exactly what's written on the estimate, you do that.
Gotcha.
No less. If you want to do a little more, go above and beyond, make them extra happy, cool. But always have to do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, sure. So when you're trying to work within their budget, like what does that look like specifically?
So usually it's like, trying to think of a good example for this. Let's say you go for a toilet that's not flushing properly or something, and they need a tank rebuild, and your price for a tank rebuild is $900, and they literally just can't spend $900 on repairing their toilet, right? Maybe you can work with them and say, okay, well, instead of replacing all this stuff, maybe we can just fix this one part, and maybe I can do that for $650, right? Would that be within your budget today? That way you're still fixing their symptom,
Yeah, sure.
right?
Sure. You might not be able to address the root cause,
Right.
but you can at least, they can go back to using their toilet.
They
or
may
whatever
still
it
be
is.
left with an old flush valve and an old fill valve, but at least they're working right now, right? So, and you can always go down to like, hey, I can make this like cheaper, simpler repair, but I can't warranty it
Sure.
because it's all tied to old parts.
Yeah.
So just know that if we go with this cheaper option,
Yeah, sure.
there's not going to be any warranty.
Sure.
And people will understand that.
Yeah. Do you ever, or have you ever like dropped price, like, okay, but I still can't do that? Have you ever then discounted?
Yeah. So, we have a process in our company, and we really don't do it a ton nowadays, just because typically call volume is so high that if we go to a customer's house, if you're going to run into two types of customers, right? There's a customer you're willing to discount for, and there's a customer that you're not.
Right. Yeah.
Because there's customers that even if you try to be the nice guy and try to work with them, you're not going to make them happy,
Sure.
no matter what.
They're just crabby that you're there to begin with.
They're crabby. They don't want to spend money on their plumbing. They're expecting Joe Blow to come over and fix it for $50.
Joe Blow wasn't available for 3 weeks, so they had to call you. They
now
already know you're expensive.
Now you got them bent over a barrel because you're the only one that would come out, right?
And they already resent that.
They already hate it. So a good customer respects your time,
Right.
is happy that you were able to come out so well, is happy that you run your business in a way that you can provide quick service, and they're willing to pay you good money for it. So you do run into we'll run into, single moms that have 3 kids that are on a fixed income that they literally can't afford our services. We'll drop our prices down to cost to help them out. We have no problem doing that. Honestly, that doesn't happen that often. Like we don't get that many of those customers, but we have no problem dropping down to cost to help them out. At least we covered costs, right? That would be better than just walking away at that point.
Yeah, because then the customer's not getting their problem fixed.
Yeah.
You're not, at least at that point, you'll probably get a 5-star review.
Yeah.
And that's beneficial.
Yes. But then there's the other customers where they don't respect your service. They're not happy about your estimates. Those kinds of customers, if you dropped your price, they would probably take the work and then leave you a 1-star review.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we kind of leave it up to the technicians at that point
Sure.
of, hey, if they seem like a tough customer or like they're going to be a pain in the butt, we don't budge on price.
Yeah.
So just leave it at that. And then If they want to give us a 1-star review, that's fine. We'll move on to the next customer.
Yeah.
1-star reviews about price, I don't care.
Yeah. It's like, it is what it is.
They're going to happen.
Yep.
Right? It's inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just boils from like people don't have a good understanding of what it costs to run a service business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because all of the guys charging too little, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the expectation of a service company is for people to charge less than they need to charge to make a profit. And so those people, we let them leave their 1-star review. If it's about price, I don't care. If it's about quality of service, we go back and we make it right.
Mm-hmm.
We refund their money.
Mm-hmm.
We fix whatever we messed up. We give them free stuff. We send them flowers. We send them a thank you card.
Right.
Whatever we got to do to make it right, we make it right. As much as we can. Some people will be pissed off about the price, and then they'll go on Google and just write a bunch of untrue stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Like we just had a lady leave us a 1-star review. She didn't pay her bill. And so after 90 days, we sent her to collections, got a 1-star review.
Because
She didn't say anything about not paying her bill.
Yeah, of course. This company was super expensive and all this stuff.
She just wrote a review of these guys are outrageous and the office staff is extremely rude and their technicians don't know what they're doing. And she sounded like a crazy lady if you read her review. And it's like, wow, interesting.
Like, dang.
That's another thing though. Like there's a lot of business owners when they get reviews like that, they'll respond like in that instance, they'll respond like, hey, how come you didn't mention that you didn't pay your bill? And you seem to be happy at the time of service. And we gave you all this stuff for free.
Trying to score points in the online world of tit for tat.
Don't do it.
Nope.
Let them sound like the crazy person. You sound like the bigger person. And say, oh man, I'm so sorry we couldn't make this service better for you. And like respond in a way that would make you look like the bigger person to somebody that's reading that review.
Yeah.
Your response matters.
Yeah.
I think if people go on there and they see, 1-star reviews and they're all about the price, but then everybody else's are 5-star reviews,
right,
and they're all like, damn, this service is good. These guys are good. They know what they're doing. To me, that just attracts a better customer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even like recently in our course, one of our guys got a 1-star review because I think he put a flyer in a guy's door handle. And then the guy was like, hey, your flyer is going to scuff my door handle. Here's a 1-star review.
Yeah.
And then Eddie, your GM, came up with a really good response because the guy in the course was like, what do you guys think about this?
Yeah.
And Eddie was like, just offer to like, hey, man, I'm so sorry. Whatever he said, I'll pay to fix that paint.
Yeah.
Like, I'll take care of you. Even in that, like, they didn't even do any work for this guy.
Yeah.
But then I think that guy changed his 1-star to a 4-star, granted. But the thing is the guy didn't have any work done. He was just complaining about the company.
Yep.
But the company was willing to say, dude, we'll take care of that for you right now.
Yeah.
You're not even our customer and we'll do it. And the guy went from a 1-star to a 4-star, which in Google's eyes is a heck of a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
But if he would have been like responded, you just got to like suck it up, buddy, like whatever, and like got all antagonistic with the guy, it wouldn't have changed that situation.
No.
Like, it sucks to get 1-stars and you're going to take it personally because it's your business, but you cannot respond from your passion.
There's a lot of times in business you have to swallow your pride.
Oh, yeah.
Swallow your pride and do what's best for the company. Don't get all up in a hissy and get emotional, and think about what's best for the company and do what's best for the company. Pride aside.
Yep.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of people riding on you putting your pride aside.
Yeah.
If
you're going to get prideful and emotional about your business, it's going to be a rough go.
Yeah, because there's going to be a lot of things that people are going to disagree with you about who know nothing about your character, know nothing about your mission, know nothing about your values.
Yep. Just go read some of my comments on TikTok.
Yeah.
If I got all prideful, I would quit making TikToks.
Yeah, because it'd be too hard.
It'd be
you just fight with online people all the time.
Oh man, they're just tearing me apart on there, right? But that's how I know it's working. When you get a bunch of, it's like when you look at it and there's like 1,000 likes and then there's 10 people just ripping you apart.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, we're doing good. It's working. Get the message out.
And I'd also say, if you're one of the people who likes to comment on social media videos out of like with anger and like frustration, I would say you should also look at your pride, because
Probably.
your comments aren't making the world a better place.
No, they're not. And the thing is too, is like, I'm on there giving you my honest advice, my best advice as I know it. Right. And what's weird is like, just to not actually even think about it, to just say, man, this guy's taking this time, spends a lot of money producing these TikTok videos.
Nope, you don't spend any money.
None.
Zero.
Spend a lot of money producing all of these videos and getting the information out there to the public. Yeah.
A lot of time.
A lot of time. Yes, I want to sell you something. By the way, if you need help with your plumbing business, we have a course. It's more than a course. It's really a coaching program, and it's freaking awesome. We have a community that you get involved with other plumbing businesses doing the same thing. We've got a whole course that walks you through everything that we do in my plumbing company, and really just what successful plumbing companies are doing. And then what else do you get? We have 2 Zoom calls every week live with me where you can ask me questions. We can go over your plumbing business. I teach on things. It's awesome. People are doing really well in our course. It's actually really cool. I just had a bunch of Zoom calls with a bunch of the guys. I did a bunch of one-on-one calls because I wanted to make sure everybody was getting the value that they needed. And it was really cool to hear the feedback of how well people are doing, how much it's impacted them over the last few months even.
Yep.
Yeah, it's cool. It's rad. So if you need help, we got you.
We're here for you.
That's why we produce the videos.
Yes.
But in that, like, we're genuinely trying to produce content to help you out, because I know that if I can help you out, you're going to be so much more likely to buy my stuff. Right? I know that if I put goodwill out in the world, goodwill will come back.
Right.
And so to see somebody spending all this time and energy and attention putting out videos and not even to take it and think about it for a second.
Just immediately reject it because something about it sounds so outrageous.
Because it's different than how you think.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's
so
presenting an opinion that isn't yours, that doesn't align with yours, and so you're just going to reject it.
Right.
And if those guys would just take a minute to like seriously think about it, like, I wonder if this guy has a good point.
Yeah. Why would I think he's wrong to say he charges so much?
Yeah.
Like, what is it in me that is rejecting that?
Yeah.
And
am I thinking wrong, or is this guy wrong?
Yeah. And just like you said, like looking at the numbers, be like, seems there's more people who like this than don't like it.
Yep.
Am I the one here who is misstepping?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be the proper thing to do.
Yeah, instead of just commenting some random thing. And I mean, like, some people are just trolling a troll, you know?
People
like,
are just trolls, you know?
If you're just trolling a troll, then, like, I guess more power to you, you know?
Yeah.
It's your thing.
Dude, I don't know why you'd waste your time doing that.
Because it's, like, super fun, question mark? I mean, so I think in some sense, trolls are good. And what I mean by that is, this is totally off topic, by the way, everybody. Like, I like Elon Musk because he just trolls.
Yeah.
Like, there needs to be like, that's why there was court jesters, so that the king would get, you know, somebody would talk shit to the king and the king would be like, dang, because it's a humility factor where this guy who's dressed up like a clown is going to make fun of you for being the king, but you can't kill him because then everybody would know you were very insecure.
Yeah.
But so when you can banter with the clown and then like see that, it offers as a check to you. So
True.
Elon Musk operates in the same space where people say real serious stuff on the internet and then he's like, yeah, I'm going to hit you with a stupid meme. And then people are like, ooh, yeah.
He's got a pretty good sense of humor too. That's the funny part.
And so like trolls in some sense are good.
Yeah.
In that sense, like they can check ego, because again, if you are seeing that 1-star review and maybe it's a super trolly account, like you've definitely had people come onto your plumbing business and just be trolly with 1-stars, and you're like, we didn't do work for you, and you respond in the same way. Looks like we didn't find you in your system. Yeah. Do you need any work? Like whatever it is, but it offers as a good check for your ego, which I would say we should all be seeking ego checks.
True.
Because if we're not being humbled, chances are we've decided that we don't need to be humbled. And that's just going to lead down a path of probably self-delusion eventually into a fall.
True.
Because you're not being realistic that you don't have it all together.
True.
So,
yes.
I mean, I'm not saying go out there and troll everybody because...
No, but like back to the 1-star review things, every time you get a 1-star review, don't just pawn it off, stupid troll.
Sure, yeah, think
right?
about it. Could be a thing.
Actually think about like, is there something to learn from this experience? Even if it is a troll, like what set the troll off, and can we just prevent that from happening in the future?
Right.
Because that would be a lot better.
Yep.
Than triggering poor troll lady and having her troll you on the internet, right?
True. Yeah. Like with your plumbing business, if you had 0 trolls, you'd have better reviews.
True. Like, how can we avoid this in the future? Or what did we do to cause this? Is it something we need to worry about?
And if there's a pattern of troll, like if you see the quote unquote troll 1-stars, all saying the same thing, maybe about a certain technician or a certain business sales strategy you have, quote unquote, then you could look at that and be like, oh, dang, these aren't trolls. These are actually people. And we're doing them a disservice by not paying attention to this feedback.
It is feedback. Yep.
At the end of the day, it's feedback, even if some of it's bullshit.
Yep.
It's feedback. So for you even to like look at the comments of guys being like, this guy's out of his mind.
Yep.
It's still like, well, am I out of my mind? And then you can go look at what you've been doing and be like, no, I think I'm pretty in my mind.
I think I'm pretty good.
You know?
Yeah.
And then you can respond from a rational position to the troll and be like, oh, I really appreciate your feedback that you consider $300 an hour highway robbery. But in fact, it's just providing great opportunities to employees.
I'm going to use that one.
Yeah, you should. And then, because guys, when you respond to trolls in that way, there's no more power in the troll, and then you've taken all the advantage back.
Yeah.
And then suddenly people go, I'm going to go with the insane business owner instead of the clearly insane, crazy person.
Yeah, sometimes I feel bad responding to those TikTok comments. I did one the other day for a poor guy named Larry. Larry's not watching this podcast, I guarantee it, but if for some reason he is, I'm sorry. I felt a little bad about my response.
Well, good. Now it's out in the open.
It's funny because I have to toe this fine line of like, you know, like I don't want to be rude.
Right.
But at the same time, people need to know the truth.
Yeah. You still need to be like direct.
Yeah.
Without being rude.
Yes.
Which is hard because some people still might perceive directness as rudeness if what you're saying is offending them to their core.
True.
And you have no control over that.
But if it's the truth, I want you to know it.
Yeah. You'd be doing them a disservice if you were to hold back to protect their feelings.
Oh, yeah. Huge disservice. So I walked that fine line.
Yeah.
And on Larry's, I was walking really close to, actually it wasn't Larry's, Lenny. I was walking.
Lenny. Lenny.
Poor Lenny. I was walking really close to that line. Probably the closest I've ever walked to the line. But it was just such a good example of where most people end up with their plumbing business of just like this guy had been working for 30 years and turns out I don't think he had a plumbing business, but he'd been in business for himself and some sort of business.
Sure.
He thought I was ridiculous for charging $600 an hour and marking up materials 120% and oh my gosh, this guy's an idiot. He doesn't know how to run a business. I've been in business for 30 years and this is not how we do it. Come to find out, poor Lenny, he's been working by himself for 30 years, working his nuts off, has no business to sell, and has nothing. So he hasn't really built a business. He's just had a job for 30 years.
Yeah.
And I had to come down hard on Lenny, not to piss off Lenny, but to just let everybody know, like, this is the road you're going down.
Right.
Is this the road that you want to be on?
Right.
Because it is not a very good road.
Yeah, if you support if you have a business and you're cheering for Lenny as Lenny quote unquote scores points against Jared, recognize that way is not towards profitability and like a life full of financial freedom and whatever you want when you started a business. Surely those things were in there.
Yeah.
And if maybe not, maybe you're down to just like work real hard. It's forever.
Yeah. It's like the only way that ever works is to be a one-man show and make sure. The funny thing is, like, even as a one-man show, it doesn't even work.
Sure.
Like thinking about it now. Like you could be a one-man show and work until the day you die if your health stayed good.
Yeah, I mean, you're banking that you're going to still be able to go to work every day.
That's freaking risky.
So I was talking to somebody this week, and like, they were talking about their father starting to have health issues. And so doing the work was becoming harder, but he was still a one-man show. And so this person, she really wanted to help her father.
Yeah.
And it was like, that's the risk you take when you don't lean into building a business of value.
Yep.
Is that one day something might happen to you that you have no control over.
Yep.
And suddenly you have nothing, like literally nothing.
Yeah. You have to think about your future. It's like guys who go to work and don't put away for retirement. Everybody would agree that that's stupid.
Yes.
But yet when it comes to business, it's stupid if you do the opposite.
Yeah. It's stupid if you try to make money and be profitable.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, there's just so many like misunderstandings that Lenny has where he's looking at his life.
Yep.
And like sometimes you can quote unquote make good money in the sense like I've talked to guys who's like, oh yeah, I make $200,000 a year. And you're like, cool, man, that's awesome. But again, it's like it's all dependent upon everything staying the same forever and you always being able to do the work forever.
Yeah.
And then when something goes screwy, and something goes screwy and you can't work, like what do you have? Your background is in manual labor.
Yeah.
It's not like you can go make $200K per year doing something not manual labor.
Yep.
And like your skill set isn't one that can transfer over to another field.
Yep.
Like if you owned a business and then let's say you didn't sell the business for some reason and you walked away with nothing, you could at least go, oh yeah, I ran a multi-million-dollar business. Do you need somebody in your business who can maybe act as a consultant or maybe a coach or maybe some sort of sales advisor?
Yep.
Because look at this track record I have.
I could go now to a service shop and get a job and I would be one badass service tech because I would have a really good understanding of what that business needs and I'd go make it happen, right? But even then I could go to a service shop and be like, hey, I ran a $5 million service shop for X amount of years where I owned one. I built it from scratch. Do you have a job for me somewhere in your business? They'd be like, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Come work here.
Especially if you really detailed out like, hey, if you just give me a couple hours of your time each week, let me prove to you that I could help you turn it around. And I mean, you could, the sky's the limit. You could just like, I mean, we're just like on the topic, but you could walk in there and be like, hey, listen, I'm going to work for free. But if you start becoming profitable, what if we agree like a profitability share?
Yep.
That I get X amount of percentage of profits after this to just demonstrate my value to you.
Yep.
And then you could walk in there and do that and be like, I just made a bunch of money with my skill set that I had as a business owner. But this doesn't exist if you're like Lenny, who never has that. No. Because all you have is, I'm a really good service tech.
Yep. That's it.
And I've undervalued myself for a long time.
For a long, long time.
And my family worries about me because my health is on the line.
Yep.
I'm playing with fire. I'm lifting heavy things. I'm crawling in the mud.
Yep.
And everybody around me is going, hey, man, wouldn't it be better if you didn't have to do it like all this?
You should probably think about your retirement.
And you're saying, no. Working is very close to me because I have pride about working.
Yep.
Because my ego is centered in the value I contribute to the world through my physical labor.
Yep.
And if that stops, I'm useless to the world.
Yep.
And suddenly, Lenny, you have a lot of issues that you haven't faced properly and you've buried in your work.
Yes.
Dang, Lenny.
Yes.
And then like...
It sucks for Lenny.
And it sucks for Lenny's kids.
Sucks for Lenny's
kids.
Sucks
for Lenny's wife.
Sucks for Lenny's wife. Sucks for Lenny's customers.
Yeah.
So if he ever had an employees, it sucks for his employees. It sucks for everybody.
Yep.
Super lame.
It doesn't make sense to put your heart and soul into something like the business because that's what it's going to require of you, and to not make it actually benefit you.
It's like the old phrase, instead of you working for your business should work for you.
Right.
And too often people end up just working for their business. Like the business runs their life. The business dictates how things go instead of the person building a business that works for them, right? It's your life.
Sure.
Why? And you have the option. And you have the ability. Why wouldn't you create something that allows, that gives you freedom, that gives you the finances, that allows you to go do the things that you want to do, that allows you to go have the experiences that you want to do, spend your time how you want to spend it, spend your money on the things you want to spend it on.
Mm-hmm.
Stop worrying about other things that you worry about now.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the times it comes from guys not understanding the opportunity they have as a plumbing business owner.
Yeah.
And like they want to do good in the world. I haven't really met a lot of people who don't want to do good in the world.
Yeah. Or they think it's way too hard.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the times it's because they just they can't properly weigh the cost because they actually don't know the cost in the sense of like they think it's way too hard.
Yeah.
But if you look at like so for example, like okay, if I personally wanted to run a 100-mile race, I don't look at that and go, damn, that's way too hard. I would go, yeah, that's probably going to be hard, but I know the steps to take. And in this context, I can just be like, Jared, what are the steps to take?
Yeah.
And you can say, do these. And I go, okay, cool. This is much more manageable.
And I'll be like, that's going to be hard.
Yeah. And I go, yeah, I know it's going to be hard, but I feel a lot better now that I have some direction and I actually know what that experience is going to be like. And then also what it's going to yield me having done it.
Yeah.
Where if all that is in fog and you just have a business and you're like, this is going to be hard. And then you don't really have any like other foresight about why or what's going to be hard or.
You have no idea how hard it's going to be.
Yeah. And sometimes you might make it a lot harder for yourself. And
you're going to make it way harder for yourself. Here, the crazy, like the funny part is like, they already think it's hard and it is hard. It's hard in a different way. Mm-hmm. You could make it so much easier if you just had somebody give you a path. So that you knew what you were doing. Mm-hmm. What's crazy is that people don't know how, yes, it's hard, but they don't know how close to their opportunity they are.
Yeah, that's it right there.
They always think it's 10, 20, 30 years out.
They do.
And they think
it's like 10 years out always.
It's got to be really hard for 10, 20 years and then I'll make it. It's like, dude, it doesn't have to be hard that long.
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised when guys are like, in the next 5 to 10, I want a $500,000 per year revenue business.
Yeah.
With 5 trucks.
Dude, I'm
like, whoa, what?
I was talking to one of our clients today before this podcast, and he was telling me like, I'm like this, I want to take it slow, and I don't like risk, and I want to be well prepared. And I'm like, that's cool. I think that's just smart decisions. Number one.
Sure.
I think you're just a smart decision maker, and you don't want to get yourself in a dumb spot. So kudos to you. Don't view it as you're being slow. Because, and I told him like, it's like, even though you're going at it slow, making smart decisions, it's going to go way faster than you think.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, it already has. I mean, he's only like 3 months into starting his business, and he's already stacked away. I think he was sitting at 50 or 60K that he's stacked away. Just getting work mainly from word of mouth and his GMB. That's it. And Facebook, just posting content on Facebook. That's it. And it was cool. I don't remember why I said that. It was quick.
Yeah, it was quicker.
He told me, dude, I didn't expect this.
Yeah, because he expected in 10 years he was going to have like 50 to 60K in his bank account or whatever.
Yeah, he said, I never expected I'd be sitting here 3 months later with 60K in my bank account. This is wild. I was like, yeah, you're literally sitting on one of the world's greatest opportunities right now.
Yeah, and the thing, dude, it's so funny because like, and what you say is so true about not understanding like, yeah, work is hard, but these guys are like, it's like they're holding a nugget of gold in their hands and it's just covered in like poop, and they don't see that the gold is just a couple, fingernail scratches underneath. Yeah. Just a couple little things. And because when I talk to guys, I'm like, listen, it's pretty basic to go from where you're at to like a lot better. Because listen,
remarkably better.
Listen, you're literally undercharging for a service people need, and you are limited by your belief that people can't pay because you've never met those people, because you've only got in front of the people who don't want to pay.
Yeah, it's less of a can't pay. It's more of a don't want to pay.
Yes. Yeah. Much more of a don't want to pay. But there's this whole sector of people who want to pay, and they're looking to. I'm a prime example where I'm like, oh, I can't use my bathrooms. I just want to find somebody. I told my wife, I was like, listen, if this warranty company doesn't come through in the next 30 minutes, I'm calling the plumbing company I wanted to call.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if I have to pay out of pocket and not warranty. I need to use
It
my
could have
thing.
been $2,000 and you would have said yes.
Yeah, I'd be like, so I
Fix
can
it.
like do my laundry, and they'd be like, yeah. And the guy would have come into my house and found cool other problems and solutions and everything.
The guy probably would have came to you and said, hey, he wouldn't have said, I'll fix your pump for $2,000. He would have said, hey, I can get all of your water running and flushing again. All it's going to cost you is $2,000. Does that sound good?
And the thing is like, if Prospector was operating here,
Yeah.
and then I would have called them, they would have said, oh, so what's your problem? They would have come into my house. They would have asked me my problem.
Yep.
They would have said, oh, it's your grinder pump. Oh, cool. Yeah, dude, I'm really used to these houses here.
Yep.
So I kind of know all the plumbing issues in here. And let me just, first off, there's probably a couple other things that we could talk about too. And we would talk about my disposal. We would have talked about my sink. He would have talked about my toilets, my bathtubs, because he would have been familiar with the exact builds that happen around here.
Yep.
And then, man, he probably would have walked away with like, yeah, I'm upsold this guy on all sorts of things that are useful.
Probably would have been like, hey, do you not want to have this problem again? We can upgrade you to this better pump and it'll stop this from happening.
Yeah, and then you won't have to go out there every couple months and like hose it down and all this other stuff. And
Yeah.
like,
How long have you lived there?
not very long. Like, when did I move? Since May.
Since May.
Like,
June, July. 5 months.
yeah, that was our first. That was our first math moment in this podcast.
Oh, dude.
We're slipping.
Dude, I didn't learn the months. This is a testament to if I can do it, you can do it. I didn't learn months until I was like the order of the months until I was in my late 20s.
No, you
Dude,
did. What are you even talking about?
Dude, I didn't learn.
How is that even possible?
I didn't learn anything in school, and then up until like I started doing stuff outside of like, I don't know, like I think even you could even say early 30s. Like it wasn't until I like started needing like to use a calendar.
Sure.
Like if you think about it, like I got started really early in life by having kids super young.
Oh, sure.
And it forced me to grow up to some extent because I had children that I had to take care of, right?
Yep.
So I had to mature at a certain level. So in a lot of ways, I was more mature than a lot of my friends.
Mm-hmm.
But then in a lot of ways, I was really immature for a long time in a lot of other things, right? And so I'm behind in a lot of ways. Like
Sure.
I didn't start a business till I was in my mid 30s, right? I'm like a year away from being 40. I'll be 39 this year. Yeah. I'm just a little over a year, year and 4 months. Year and 5 months. 6 months.
We can write out the months on the table.
Year and a
if you
half
want.
away from being 40, right? Dude, and I'm not nearly as far along as I would like to be. I see these kids on the internet, they're in their late 20s. They got $1 million businesses already. I'm like, that's freaking awesome.
I mean, I think even some of our clients in our course are like in
they're
their
young.
20s.
Yeah.
Like I've talked to a couple of guys on the phone who are like in their 20s. And I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, I'm so excited for you
So rad.
because you are learning a skill that can really help you. Not because you're a plumber, but because you can own a business.
Yeah. They got a 10-year jump on me.
Yeah. We even talk about costing where it's like, dude, like the opportunity in front of you is like infinity.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I think about my kids and I'm like, oh man, I'm stoked for when you get to the.
They're screwed.
Yeah, I know.
You're going to be worn out.
Yeah, I probably will be. I don't care what you kids do. Just, I don't know. Just don't bug me.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's cool. Yeah. I was thinking about like, like with your kids, like imagine this. They could go start a service-based business, any service-based business, if they were into it.
Sure.
And they would have their dad who knows a lot just by osmosis. And then they would have the weird guy down the road that knows a lot as well and would be more than happy to be like, let's set this up for
I'm
you.
so
Let's get
excited
this going.
to see you. Like, please,
this
go
is gonna be
awesome.
sick.
Yeah.
Like this is exactly what you need to do. Man, what a head start that is.
Okay, let's put that in a context that makes sense to Lenny. Lenny's kids didn't have that.
No.
Lenny's kids had the guy who worked all the time and
Yep.
didn't have anything to show for it except for just, I'm really good at working.
Yes.
And
I've made a good living.
Yeah, which is cool. Like being good at working is a skill.
Yep.
Making good living is a skill.
Yep.
But Lenny didn't look to the kids down the street or to his own kids and say, "Hey, you wanna make a service-based business?" And the kid's like, "Yeah. What about like pressure washing?" You're like, dude, we can make this sucker go.
Yep.
Like you can be 18 years old working, owning a business, and then by the time you're 23, you can have probably sooner. You can have $1 million business.
Yep.
Just do what I tell you to do.
Lenny didn't live up to his full potential.
No,
And I guess that's the sad part.
yeah, it is the sad part.
That's really the sad part.
yeah.
It's wasted potential.
Yeah, so Lenny, if you're listening to this 30-minute segment about you, like we're just sad. Like it's sad to see the potential not be used to the fullest extent.
I mean, even for anybody who is listening to it, don't waste your potential.
Yeah, like if you're, again, like business owners are probably some of the most powerful movers in our current society.
Yeah.
Because you are actually able to generate opportunities for people and give them good jobs who don't want to be business owners, because that's not everybody wants to be a business owner.
Yep.
But you can give those people a real shot at like accomplishing financial freedom to the degree that you can.
Yep.
Obviously serve the customer well, but then you can create actual money to be able to do things in the world that are meaningful.
Yeah.
Like you can go, oh, I can go fund that thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's like whatever it is, your thing that you like to do.
Yeah.
Like if your church has a need and you really like supporting your church and you're like, oh, dang, that's a $100K project. Huh. I can take care of that. Like no big deal.
Yep.
Like you can do cool stuff.
I'll give some real life examples. Just me personally, having put my neck out there and put in some hard work and have a little bit of success, the little bit that I've had. I've been able to hire really cool people and give them opportunities that they wouldn't have had I not done that. Mm-hmm. Everybody that works for me, right? They've all had those opportunities because I decided to do it, because I stuck my neck out there. That's cool. I was able to hire like my general manager, Eddie. Badass dude. He deserved way more.
Yeah.
But he never had the opportunity.
Sure.
Even you working at Wright's Air loading airplanes. You're a smart guy. You're a hard worker. You're dedicated. You deserved a better opportunity, but you didn't have one.
Right.
Even my son, he was cleaning gutters for a living. That was he had an opportunity to go start a gutter cleaning business, which would have been an okay opportunity, but he would have been in a limited market.
Yep.
Blah, 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 blah. Just being able to give him an opportunity to work in a field. He edits all of our videos, by the way, to work in a field that he actually loves and he's really good at.
Yeah.
And to be able to invest into him so that he can then learn more skills. Super cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then with Prospector, my plumbing business, we've been able to give back to the community. So we just raised our budget. I think 2023, we spent $30,000 giving back. So we supported a bunch of local sports teams. I think we supported some cheerleaders, some wrestling teams. Next year, we're going to give back $50,000, raise the budget a little bit more, and just give back to the community and support the community. It's good advertising and it's supporting the community. It's like a win-win.
Yep.
All cool stuff that never would have happened.
Yeah, sure.
Had I not just put in literally a little bit of work.
Yeah.
Well, yes, it was hard. Yes, it was stressful. But at the end of the day, like that was fun.
Sure.
It was super fun to do. I'll never regret it. And the payoff was bigger than ever expected.
Right.
Like 10 times the payoff than I expected. So if anybody's on the fence, they should just do it.
Yeah, like if you're on the fence, you're already in the, I'll use the word avatar. You're already in the plumbing business owner avatar.
Yeah.
Of you're like, I think I could do this.
Yeah.
And so like, I think there's sort of this vibe about entrepreneurship where it's like, you either have it or you don't. You're either an entrepreneur or you're not. And I think that's a terrible way to think.
Yeah.
You can be like, there is no like, I was born an entrepreneur, because people put it out that way where they're like, if you're an entrepreneur, you're like innovative and businessy and like you want to Like all the entrepreneurs, they were selling candy bars in middle school. Everybody else were just workers.
Yeah.
It's like, no,
Some of them were,
yeah.
but not all of them.
And you can like, if you weren't that person, but you're listening to this podcast, you're like, I think I could start a business. Like, then go start one.
Yeah.
It's just about doing the stuff. It's a
just
skill.
It's a skill you have to learn.
Yeah. And then you learn the skill and then you make mistakes. You learn from your mistakes. You
Again,
rededicate yourself.
If you talk to anybody from my childhood who knew me up until I was 30 years old, and you asked them, did you ever think that Jared was going to start and own the biggest plumbing company in town that does $5 million a year in revenue, and then move to Florida, start a social media company, be putting out 4 TikTok reels every day, and have a plumbing business coaching program? They would have been like, no.
They would have been like, you mean the guy who doesn't know the order of the months? That guy? That Jared?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
They would have been like,
The guy with the big scraggly beard?
The guy with long hair and the big scraggly beard who hasn't had clean pants on for 10 years in a row.
Yeah, and rants against the government about random stuff. And
yeah, they would have been like, no.
Yeah, not a chance.
Not expected at all.
I think people are still confused.
They're still confused. I didn't have any of the skill sets that I needed. Literally zero.
Even like, if we could like back it up to like, even like 2 years ago, where you're like, Prospector is finally like coming over this big hump, and then like you're transitioning into the social media thing.
Yeah.
People were still like, I don't know what Jared's doing.
No.
I'm confused.
Yeah.
Like we would have home church and talking to our friends, and they'd still look at you like, what has happened?
Yeah.
Like there's something, what have you done? I don't understand this. And you'd be like, well, I raised my prices and I have marketing now, and I've understood a couple fundamental things about business, like hiring and like replicating myself. And they're like, oh, okay.
Yep.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
And you're like, sorry.
And I guess like the lesson learned is like when I look back, and I was looking at this today, I was looking back at my videos. They were from a year ago when I first moved into this house, and it was in this room right here. I watched my videos, and they were freaking horrible.
Those are probably the ones that I was editing. Yeah, I guess it would be me editing those.
I was editing some of them as well, and they were terrible. Just the way I talked was horrible.
Yeah.
The edits were terrible, no offense.
And it's okay. I think I did it for like 2 weeks, and then Costin came on, so.
Yeah. And it was like, like when you start, you're going to suck at it.
Of course.
And everybody's going to be like, what are you doing?
You suck at this.
That sucked.
You look like an idiot.
You look like an idiot, and I don't know what you're doing. And if you just stick with it and you stay consistent with it and you try to get a little bit better every single day, at the end of a year, you're going to look back and go, holy crap, we have gotten dramatically better at this.
Yeah.
This is actually pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's really important to have those moments where you reflect.
Yeah.
So you don't lose yourself in the current struggle.
Yeah.
Because the current struggle, you can say, this struggle defines my entire career.
Yeah.
And you say, man, I'm garbage because this right here, I'm really struggling with.
I still do that to this day.
It's actually the easiest habit to slip into.
I still wake up every now and then and I'm like, God, I'm a total failure. Like I'll be having a problem in my plumbing business or something will have gone wrong, and then wealthy plumber didn't make any money, or and we lost a plum social client. I'm like, God, I'm a freaking terrible business owner.
Yeah.
But then what's funny about that is like, and I was talking to the guys in the course about this, and they're, because they're like, sometimes work will get slow, and they're like questioning, everything.
Thing. Yep. Everything.
I'm like, guys, just stick with it. Trust me.
Yeah.
It's funny how anytime something goes wrong, you start to question it. But then when stuff starts to go right again, you're like, oh, we did it.
Dude, I know.
I made it.
It's so funny because it's like at the end of each month, like in the wealthy plumber cycle, and we're like, oh man, we made money this month. And then the first week it's like, damn it, like we're screwed. And it stresses me the heck out.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, we gotta like frickin' do a bunch of stuff. But then at the end of the month, it's like, yeah, we're awesome. Like we're so good at this. It's just, but it's good to reflect on like the grand scale so that you can, take some confidence that like, okay, it's okay. Like not to say that you ease off and you like absorb those emotions of like stress, and you use them to their greatest advantage, and you let them push you forward. but don't let that define you. Like, don't let you sucking at this one thing define your whole existence.
Right.
Just, it's a moment. And then say,
Yeah.
okay, well, I should probably figure this problem out. And I should probably avoid this thing that I'm doing that's causing me to feel this way. And then next month, we'll check back with myself and see, hey, do I feel any better?
Yeah.
Like, I know next month, halfway through the month, I'm going to go, is this better than last month?
That was a bad decision.
Yeah,
Or,
like, huh.
oh man, that worked.
Yeah, like, huh,
Let's do more of that.
Let's do more of that. And like just having those touch points with yourself. And like, again, it comes back to humility to like really look at yourself and be like, okay, where am I not quite measuring up? Like, where am I missing the mark?
Yeah.
And then see if you can get yourself back on target.
Yes. I would often look at things as worst case scenario.
Sure.
So like when you're feeling down and you're like, because sometimes when you're feeling down, it's because stuff isn't going right.
Sure.
And yes, a lot of times it's not going right because you've made a mistake and you've been doing something stupid. And a lot of times when you have to fix that, it's a hard decision.
Sure. Yeah. Because
right?
you have to own up that you've been doing something stupid.
Yes. And everybody else is going to know you've been doing something stupid as well. So when I think about that, when I'm in those situations, I always think of it as like, okay, I'm going to make this decision. A lot of times it's a hard decision and I don't know if this is going to work.
Yeah.
Like I'm really like hoping this is going to work. And you're like, okay, worst case scenario, if this doesn't work, what happens? It's usually not as bad as you think. So like there was a time in my business where we were still underpriced and I was losing money, like 20, 30 grand a month. And I came to the conclusion that I just have to raise my prices. It was like, I had enough data at that point. I was in business long enough to where, and we'd done good up until a certain point. And it was like, I came to the realization that we're only going to get so many phone calls. And I guess we can increase our phone calls, but out of the phone calls we get, we're only going to book so many of them. And out of the ones we go to, we're only going to sell so many of them.
Wait, you're not going to sell them at 85%?
No. And we can tweak.
What about all the sales training we talked about?
Yeah, you can try. Like we can tweak these and improve, but your improvements in those areas are going to be teensy weensy, tiny, right?
Sure.
They're going to be little tiny little bits at a time, and it's never going to get to perfect.
Yeah, you're never going to go from national average 55% sales ratio to 100%.
No.
You're never going to go, we're going to bring in twice as much revenue once I do Jared's RISE system.
Right. Yep.
Or Ken Goodrich's RISE system.
Yep. And the bigger you get, the closer to national average you're probably going to get.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
Like you might have one or two rock stars in yourself and you guys can hit 65, 70% close rate. But the second you start bringing on average people, all of a sudden you start to drop closer to average. And so you really need to price yourself for average. So that's the kind of realization that I had. And it was like, okay, I have to raise my prices. And I had to raise them to a point that was really uncomfortable for me. And the decision was, this is either going to work or it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, if I don't do it, what's going to happen?
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to slowly go out of business. If I do it and it doesn't work, what's going to happen? I'm going to slowly go out of business. Worst case scenario, I slowly go out of business.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I know I can sell work. So I just have to jump back in my van and the guys that are selling well, I'll keep them. The other guys will have to go. And worst case scenario, we'll just go back to square one and that's how we'll do. And so worst case scenario isn't typically as bad. Like even worst case scenario, like I sell my vans or I have to go get a job or my wife goes and gets a job and I go get a job and we continue to make van payments. Wasn't as bad as, it wasn't that bad. Right. So, and if you can think about stuff like that, okay, what's the worst case scenario? It usually makes you feel a little better.
Yeah.
You're not going to die.
Yep.
You're not going to starve to death. Yeah, it's going to be a little difficult maybe. Yeah, you're going to have to put some work in, but you're going to be okay.
Yep. I think that's a good, this frame touches back to our conversation about sales.
Yeah.
Where sales is not the magic bullet that you would want it to be.
No, sales aren't. Marketing is not. The closest thing to a magic bullet is sticking with residential service and charging enough money. That is the closest magic bullet you're going to get.
And right now, it's a real close to a magic bullet since so many guys are undercharging and they're diversified in residential service, commercial, new construction, custom homes.
Custom home.
Yeah.
I'm in custom home remodels.
Yeah, like, okay, new construction.
I don't do new construction.
Like, okay, gotcha. Who's your contractor? Well, the guys down the big ones, you know?
Yeah.
Anyways,
It is a little better. I'll give it that.
Okay, all right. Okay. But the point is, like, right now, it's as close to you can get as a silver bullet.
Yeah.
Now, if all goes well with Wealthy Plumber and coaching and all these things, it'll become less of a silver bullet because more guys will be charging more.
Yeah.
And then you'll have to really get into, okay, how can we really differentiate ourselves on value and all these other things?
Yep.
But for now, y'all should really just seize the moment and go, oh my gosh, we could charge 100% more, 200% more, maybe even more, and like just make more money and just change a couple things.
Yep.
And then you'll get to the point where you go, okay, let's talk about sales processes when we have enough technicians to where this is a relevant conversation.
Yep.
Like you did, where you're like, okay, everybody's doing it kind of differently. Yep. We should probably like hone this in and give everybody a process so that when they work at Prospector, they know this is how you treat the customer and this is going to get you the best result, but it's going to serve the customer the best.
And that's really what it is. It's okay, technician, I'm confident if you come to work for me and you follow this process, you're going to be successful.
Yeah.
And you're going to make enough money. All you have to do is follow this.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's really what it boiled down to.
Yeah. Did that work okay for you and your technicians?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, obviously, because things are not, I mean, they're doing fine.
Yeah. They're doing good. They're actually doing really good. Like I talk to a lot of people and our business's numbers are phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our techs make really good money. They have really good benefits. The business makes really good money, and we have really high customer satisfaction rate. We make really, like, our gross profit margins are good. Our net profit margins are good. We do fantastic as a company. And it's funny to me because there's still room for improvement.
Yeah.
Like, we're well above average, but yet there's still room for improvement.
That's the fun part is, like, you're in the fun zone of, like, man, we're doing really good, but we can still get to do better.
Yeah,
it's not like you're like, crap, we're doing terrible, we have to do better.
Yeah, and I think that's where, like, you know, like it stumped me for a little bit of, like, if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I kind of capped out my market. So if I want to grow, I got to go to another market. And really that was like a limiting belief on my end because we've still continued to grow just in a whole different way rather than growing by numbers, how many techs we have, or revenue numbers. We're growing by efficiency, and we're growing our culture, and we're growing, you know, margins, and we're growing safety nets, and we're growing our hiring process, and we're grooming our CSR process. So all of that stuff is continuing to grow. And so it gave me a new respect for the phrase, if you're not growing, you're dying. Or a new understanding for it.
Yeah, it's a nuanced thing that isn't just, you gain more technicians and more market share. Yeah. There's other ways to experience growth.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. The other way to think about it is, like, if Prospector was growing, you know, or if Fairbanks was growing at a rate of like 10% every year, then Prospector should grow at a rate of 10% every year. Yeah. Right. If the population's growing, then the business should grow. Right. So if you're not at least growing by the rate of your population, then you're losing market share. Right. Technically.
Sure. Yeah.
So you should think about that as well. I don't know what Fairbanks is doing.
I don't know what it's, I just know it's really expensive to live there.
I feel like everybody's moving away, but that's just because everybody I know has moved away because I'm so influential. I got to move down here.
You're so influential. And then also it's like when people we do know talk about it, they'll just reference that people are moving like you and me. So
True.
we have that sense that everybody's moving.
And-
when honestly, who knows?
And they're all like, oh, I want to, you moved? I want to move.
yeah, like, wait, how did you make it out? How
Wait.
can I make it out?
It's not 40 below there right now?
Yeah, I was talking to my buddy last night, talking to Garrett, and
Yeah.
he's like, what's the temperature? And I was like, oh, it's like 50 at night, and maybe it gets down to like 50 in the morning, and then, yeah, it's like 85. And he's like, oh, it's like 25. I'm like, sounds awesome, I guess. He's like, I can't find my headlamp, but I need to bring it to work. I'm like, oh, I remember when it gets dark like that. My kids use the headlamps to read at night when they go to bed, and that's what we use them for now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's funny.
Cool, man. Well, I thought that was an awesome conversation. I had a lot of fun. Thanks, dude.
See you, homie.
See ya.